it's Lynn. I hope this is bright enough. I'm coming live at you with some messages from my dog Jiggs while he was in spirit. And I'm bringing you this video with the hopes that you will be able to benefit from it and start to receive messages from your animal companions who are in spirit. Hi, thanks for joining me. Give me a thumbs up and a like and a couple hearts if you're listening in. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and I think the lighting is a little screwy. I'm doing it in a different spot in my house, and you can see my ring light in my glasses. So I think I'll take them off. So anyhow, I want to give you a couple, just in one summarized video, a couple of the ways that my dog Jiggs has come to me in spirit. And the very first night after he crossed over, he actually came to me in my dream time and barked really loud, one signature bark that he always used to do when he needed something from me. And he would do it occasionally when I was sleeping, but mostly while I was awake. And he would bark at me, this one bark, and I would jump up and get whatever he needed because he was elderly. So I just want to share that he did that the first night after he passed, and I jumped out of bed ready to do whatever I had to do for him, and sure enough, he was no longer in the physical plane, and I had forgotten. So I apologize, I'm a little hot. I just came in from outside, and it's 106, feels like 107. So I'm overheated. Anyways, I didn't want to leave this off any longer because I wanted to get this information out there. Another message from Jiggs in spirit realm, and that was literally a clear communication from spirit. It was an audible communication from spirit. The next thing that I wanted to share with you is that soon after he crossed, I was on the phone with my mom, and we were kind of reminiscing about some of his quirks and some of the things that we loved about him. And I had a light fixture in my dining room that had 5 candle-shaped, candle wick-shaped, whatever, light bulbs, not candle wick, but the ones that look like a candle flame. And he, as I was walking from my living room through the dining room into the kitchen while I was talking to my mom on the phone and reminiscing about Jiggs, he actually made 3 of the lights out of 5 go off, on, off, on, off, on. And only 3 of them, the other 2 remained on. And interestingly enough, shortly after Jiggs died, I was in British Columbia on Vancouver Island at the time, and I decided to come back to Arizona. And shortly after, and I had rented a place sight unseen, a friend of mine had checked it out for me. And right after that situation at home, I got to my new place that I had rented after driving down here, and again the dining room light fixture had 5 bulbs shaped like candle flames, and as soon as I came in that first night, he made 3 of them go off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on. It was quite amazing. So that was another connection from him, and I want you guys to just think about these so you can look for these kinds of situations yourself with your own animal companions. And it's like as you start to know what's possible, it starts to come into your consciousness, and you're able to basically have those experiences for yourself. I find the more they're in our experience, the more they start to happen for us. Just like if you all of a sudden decide to go look for a Toyota 4Runner, all of a sudden everywhere you look there's Toyota 4Runners. It's kind of like you're attracting that vibrational frequency of them. The same is true for us with our animal companions when we are receiving messages from them in spirit. So give me a heart if you have ever had a communication from your animal companion in spirit. Now, another communication I had is I was leaving, so I had been living in a place called Sydney by the Sea on Vancouver Island, and that's where I was living when Jiggs crossed. And he was, thank you for the thumbs up, thanks for the hearts, guys. And Jiggs was, so Jiggs passed, so I decided to move back to Arizona. And I was leaving my place in Sydney for the final time, and it was in the afternoon. I had fully moved out, and what had happened was I was driving to a friend's place to spend the night with her before I left on my big trek down to Arizona. and I was leaving, and I pulled out onto the highway, and I was coming down the highway, and right ahead of me there was this amazing angel cloud, and I knew it was Jiggs. And what he relayed to me in that moment was that nobody else who was looking at that cloud would have seen it as I did. Like if I had pointed and said, look at that cloud Jiggs left me, nobody would have been able to see that angel. So it was pretty interesting. Another thing is that a good friend of mine up there had, when Jiggs had passed and I was grieving and very sad, she had bought me this beautiful little rose quartz heart on a string of crystals to hang in my car as a reminder of Jiggs. So I had that in my car for many, many years. And it's so funny because as I was driving down to Arizona, I got in, as soon as I crossed the state line into Arizona, that heart started circling in a clockwise fashion, like a yes on a pendulum swing, the way I use my pendulum. So it was like Jiggs was all of a sudden going, yes, you're back where you're supposed to be. You know, he truly orchestrated it for things for me to be able to come back to Arizona. So how many of you have had any kind of message? Give me a heart if you've had any kind of message. Thanks for saying hi, everyone. And please do let me know where you're from. Crystal just wrote in that she's in Ohio. And thanks for mentioning that you enjoy my live feeds, Crystal. So so I've had the lights in British Columbia, the lights in Sedona, the bark in the night, and then I've had that angel cloud as I was leaving my home in Sydney, and then I had the St. Augustine, nice. And then I had the the heart, rose quartz heart hanging from my rearview mirror, swinging in a clockwise fashion like a yes from the pendulum. So then another one I had was, as I was getting close to Sedona, I had another angel cloud appear, which looked completely different than the last one that I saw when I was leaving Sydney. But I knew immediately it was from Jiggs. And it was actually formed, they were doing something called a prescribed burn. Because there's so many forest fires and possibilities of forest fires in Arizona and places like that, they actually burn certain areas to make an area where the fire would have a hard time jumping, you know, to continue burning. It's like a moat, so to speak, but there's no water in it. It's just a place where the fire burns to that edge, and hopefully it doesn't burn to the next part. It stops wildfires from getting out of control. So they were doing a prescribed burn, and in Arizona, when they do prescribed burns, we get that. We get clouds and things, and those clouds from the prescribed burn, and it was later in the day and the sun was starting to set, formed another angel for me from Jiggs. Excuse my hotness. It's 107 degrees outside, so I'm really hot. So the other thing, one of my other amazing, don't forget to tell me where you're from. I see that Kathy's from New Jersey, wonderful. Another thing that Jiggs did for me when, one of his communications with me from Spirit was, so the night, my Maltese Carly is now 11 years old, just about to be 12 in October. And so it was 12 Octobers ago that I was on my way down to Sedona from British Columbia, and I had rented this place sight unseen that a friend of mine had checked out. And so what had happened was Carly happened to be, I wanted to make it to this little place near Panguitch is basically what it's called. I wanted to make it to this little place, Panguitch, because the next day I wanted to go to Best Friend's Animal Sanctuary. I had enough time to spend the morning there and still be able to drive to Sedona. So I did that. And that night that I was sleeping in Panguitch, unbeknownst to me, Carly was born. So I was just coming off Jiggs Crossing and me packing up and moving out of British Columbia, coming down to Arizona for the winter, and Carly was born. And Carly's a Maltese, Jiggs was a golden retriever. So when I first got Carly, I didn't get her till she was 4 months old. I had a little shelving unit with 3 glass shelves on it, and I made a little altar for Jiggs. I had some some of my favorite, his collar and stuff there, and I had his ashes there, and an angel, and just a couple sweet things that reminded me of him, and things that I loved. And every single night, Carly would go over to his picture, which was on the bottom shelf, and she would have this whole conversation and playing and jumping around with him, and it was like he came every evening for the longest time with Carly. So a couple of things that I can share with you that are really helpful for you when you have lost an animal companion and you do want to be able to communicate with them on a deeper level, receive messages from them, receive communication from spirit, is number one, really allow yourself to process your grief. You know, it's like, let it move through your body and out. Anything that we constrict within our body tends to be, it tends to bottle up, and the energy bottles up within us, and it's kind of like a snowball gathering energy. We want to allow it to move through and out of our bodies. We need to really clearly believe that the end of the physical is just the beginning of a new dimension for any being that crosses over. And honestly, the animals don't show me anything bad about crossing over. It's like they just switch dimensions. They still have access to us. They can still be around us. It's just a completely different experience, but they don't think of it. It's different, not bad. The reason it's hard for us is because we have a harder time awakening to that different dimension where they reside, and when we are able to do that, it gets so much better for us. I can honestly share that as you really come to really believe and know and trust and feel this dimension, you will absolutely have more communication with them. Trust that they are there with you. Trust they reside either in your heart or by your shoulder, or in your mind's eye. They reside within you. A piece of them resides within you, and you can absolutely have communication with them and have amazing sharing with the animals if you're open to it. And be open for gentle nudges from them. They are here to really help us learn to expand our consciousness to other realms, both when they're here on the physical and when they've crossed over, and if they reincarnate. That is one of their big roles for us, and it's really important for us to acknowledge that, to be open to that, to allow for that to come into our lives, because that is magic, that is a gift that is beyond anything that you could imagine from the animals. And have gratitude for every little nuance. Have gratitude for every moment you thought you caught them out of the corner of your eye, or you heard a message inside you, or you saw something, even if it was on a license plate or a billboard, that reminded you that, oh my gosh, that is a message from Jiggs. Thank you, Jiggs. And just send that love out instead of allowing the pain and the grief of our animals to crush us and to make us rigid. Allow ourselves to open up and be really, just to put ourselves in a place where we can receive this amazing, amazing information and love and energy that the animals in spirit have to share with us. So again, I just came in from 107-degree weather, so I'm a little hot and steamy, but I wanted to share this video with you so you would have you would be able to see it. And please send me some hearts if you enjoy these videos. That'll help me be able to make more. And share the video with anybody. I see every day on Facebook people have lost animal friends. And please share the video so that others who have lost an animal and maybe in the grief or pain can transmute that energy into something of love and connection and beauty and magic, which is really what the animals are here for us for. So abundant blessings, everyone. Thank you so much. And I just see Claire saying I communicate with all my animals that have crossed over anytime I want to. But I can't read the whole thing because it's too long for this. Anyhow, I am thrilled to be connecting with you guys, and I will see you on future lives. And if you want to check out any more of my videos, I've got probably over 50 of them on YouTube under Lynn McKenzie. I think it says Lynn McKenzie Animal Communication and Healing or something. So I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next video and on my Animal Alchemy page. Abundant blessings, everybody. Bye-bye.